So thank you for tuning in to, another Sons of Isaac weekly class. It is definitely the beginning of our work week. And, want to thank brothers and sisters who are listening in and who are in attendance. So, let's just, go into the word of the Lord and just receive that rest, man, and get some understanding on his words. If there are any questions, for those who are online, all you have to do is press 5-star. And, your hand will be raised according to the monitor in which I'm looking at. If there are any questions in general, you can also write them down and also wait till after the class is over to present your question or whatnot, because I'll open the line up for questions also. So we're going to go into, a topic specifically, dealing with the nations. So, will the nations serve Israel? This is the question that, I'm going to answer. All right. So, many people will ask it. There are other parts to, this understanding that we'll also go into at a later time, right? Dealing with the salvation of the nations and, will they receive the same salvation as the children of Israel? Well, that's another topic in itself. But like I said, I will show you first, the basic understanding to let you know for sure, all right, in this lesson, if by what I'm teaching here is, will better provide that answer for you, as far as dealing with shall the nations receive the same salvation as the children of Israel? Are they entitled to receive the same, benefits of the covenant as the children of Israel? All right. But let's go into it. So, let's go to the book of Exodus, chapter 12, and I'm going to get verse 30. I'm going to start at verse 37. Now, this is dealing with the children of Israel after the Lord had smitten the Egyptians, right, with the plague of the death of every firstborn, right? So you see the destroyer angel, went throughout the land of Egypt and killed all of the firstborns of the Egyptians, right? And you'll see that the Israelites, right, after the Passover, they would definitely put the blood on the side of their doorpost and above their doorpost, right, so that the destroyer angel would pass over their houses, right? So let's read this. So after the plagues were done, all right, and finished, right, let's see what happens. All right, so I'm going to read Exodus chapter 12, and I'm going to read verse 37. And it says, and the children of Israel the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men besides children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle, right? So now we see that it said that a mixed multitude came out with the children of Israel. And, definitely later on, we're going to get some solid understanding on, why this mixed multitude left with the children of Israel. But we're definitely going to see who was this mixed multitude with the children of Israel, right? So now, the mixed multitude in which we're dealing with here, they are, in fact, the other nations, okay? So now let's go to the book of Deuteronomy real quick. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 29. And let's see if this was the other nations or what they call the strangers, sojourners that were among the Israelites. All right. So now I'm going to read this in Deuteronomy chapter 29, and I'm going to start at verse 9. And it says, keep therefore the words of this covenant and do them, that ye may prosper in all that ye do. Ye stand this day, all of you, before the Lord your God, your captains of your elders and your officers with all the men of Israel, your little ones, your wives, and thy stranger that is in thy camp, from the hewer of thy wood unto the drawer of thy water. Right? So now we see that mixed multitude, were strangers, right? Or what we would call other nations, or sojourners or foreigners, right? So these were the ones who would be the hewers of our wood and drawers of our water. They would be our, what we call our servants. Okay. So now, what would be the purpose of this of the strangers or the mixed multitude in which we're dealing with, right? So now, if it says that after the Exodus or during the Exodus process that there was a mixed multitude that came out, many people would think to say, well, see, look at that. So the God of Israel just didn't deliver the children of Israel, right? But you see that it was the other nations that were being delivered as well that were under the oppressive hands of the Egyptians. But we know that by just our reading that really doesn't clearly say that the nations were receiving the same benefits of salvation that the children of Israel were receiving, right? And like I said, I'm going to go into the scripture that's going to show why a mixed multitude came out with the children of Israel during this time as well. Okay, but let's go back. So now let's get the understanding of what the purpose of these strangers would be. All right. So now let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 25. Let's stay in the law, and you'll clearly see that these strangers were to be something to us. All right. I'm going to start in verse 25. Chapter 25, and I'm going to read verse. I'm going to start at verse 41. Actually, verse 39. It says, and if thy brother that dwelleth by thee wax poor and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, but as a hired servant, as a sojourner, he shall be with thee and shall serve with thee until the year of the Jubilee. And then shall he depart from thee, both he and his children with him, and shall return unto his own family and unto his possession of his fathers shall he return. Now I'm going to drop down and read verse 43. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy God. Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaid, now this is what the stranger, right? Which thou shalt have shall be of the heathen that are around about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids. Right? So he's talking about the heathen that are among you. Those are the ones that you're going to purchase, right? That you're going to buy as your slave. So now let's get the definition of what we would call a bondman, all right? A bondman or a serf, okay, or a slave, a person who is the legal property of another and is forced to obey them, right? So now, here go another definition I have of what we know as slave. And it says, a person who is held in bondage to another, one who is wholly subject to the will of another, one who is held as a chattel, one who has no freedom of action, but whose person and service are wholly under the control of another, right? So that's why the Lord said, all right, what the purpose of, he said, both thy bondsmen and thy bondsmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids, right? So now, it says in verse 45, moreover, the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, right? So that mixed multitude that sojourn amongst the children of Israel, this is what their purpose would also be. So moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possessions. So I just got through reading here in the book of Leviticus chapter 25, verses 44 and verses 45. So we see that the strangers, right, will also be purchased by us. And he said of their families that are with us, okay, we will also be able to possess them too, right? So that mixed multitude that came out of Egypt, right, with the children of Israel, their purpose was to be the hewers of our wood and the drawers of our water. So when we read back in Deuteronomy chapter 29, verses 9 through 10, it was showing us what? That the heathen would be our servants, okay? So now here in Leviticus, it's telling us the same thing, that they're also going to be the ones who are going to be our slaves, all right, or workers, whatever you want to call them, chattel, all of that. Okay, so now it says, verse 46, and ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession, so of their children. So it says we were to take them, all right, for our children, okay, and for our children afterward, for an inheritance, okay, so that we would be able to possess them. And it says, they shall be your bondmen forever, but over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor. So we were not to rule over our brethren, all right, with cruelty, okay, and that's why the Lord always reminds us every time, you know what I mean, he mentions, like, see, you know, you were strangers in the land of Egypt yourself at one point, so you already know what it feels like. So don't rule over your brethren with rigor. All right, so we didn't do that to the heathen either. We didn't rule over them, you know, with cruelty, absolute harshness, or anything like that. Okay, so now we're getting to some of the prophecies that show, you know, the nations being serving. But let's find out how the Most High feel about the other nations real quick, because this is what we have to understand, man. You know, everybody else of our people, you know, those who are in Christianity, so on and so forth, they feel that they regard the nations as something, right? Instead of looking at what the Bible says and what the scriptures say truly, they want to sit there and, you know, co-sign for all of the other nations, man. Those who have enslaved their forefathers, all of that, who did some heinous things unto our people, right? But, you know, within our good nature and love of spirit, right, you know, we love everyone. We want everybody to make it right, but that's not what scriptures say, okay? So you're going to have one nation that's on top, that's going to be a ruler in the hierarchy, and then you're going to have everyone else that are going to be at the bottom of the food chain. They're going to be the ones that's made to serve, all right, just how it is even to this very day. You see that you have the white man, all right, who's at the top of the food chain, and you see that all nations, they serve him, okay? So now let's go to the book of Isaiah chapter 40, and let's get verse 17. Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 17. And it says, all nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity. So you see all of the other nations, right? You know, the Lord says they are nothing to him. But let's further prove that. Now we have to go to the Apocrypha, right, to get like the full understanding of, you know, of why the Most High does not, you know, consider the nations as something to him. So now let's go to the Apocrypha in the book of Ezra, second Ezra chapter 6, and I'm going to start at verse 54. And it says, after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creature, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. So you see, all of the other nations, yes, that you see upon the face of the earth today, we all definitely do come from Adam, right? So remember, Adam means blood, right? So we all come from the blood of Adam. So just like when you read in the book of Acts chapter 17 and verse 26, when it talks about, you know, all people are of one blood, it's talking about Adam. So we all are the descendants of Adam, right? But he said, after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all. So everybody on the face of this earth, they come from Adam. And the people also whom thou hast chosen. So now, and the people who the Lord has chosen. So who did the Lord choose to be his people, right? He chose the children of Israel. That's why he called Israel his firstborn, okay? So remember, Israel is his firstborn and being the chosen ones to receive the blessings of the everlasting covenant. All right. And it says, verse 55, all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the worlds for our sake. So you see, everything on the earth was made for the sake of the children of Israel, right? All of the fullness, everything. Why? Because we were appointed to be the rulers over all of the Lord's creation. We were chosen to be his holy children, the ones who would be placed in the power, right? And we would be the examples, to the other nations. And we would show them how the law should be properly kept. And if there was anything and if there was anything that the nation needed to know, they would come to us, right? And you'll see that parallel when you read in the history dealing with King Solomon, right? So you see that the Israelites then, all right, after the reign of David, Saul was the one who basically started the foundation of the empire. David came, built, and then subdued all of the enemies of the children of Israel. Solomon came in during the time of peace. He built the temple of the Lord, and Israel prospered in all things. They prospered in trade. They prospered in everything. There was no war. There was nothing, that the Most High did not provide for his children, all right? And you see that all of the nations came to do what? They came to Solomon to hear his wisdom. So just alone, we make all nations subject unto us and offer us gifts and presents and alliances through our wisdom alone, right? So that's why we were given rulership and authority over all nations, right? But as we fell into sin and transgression, what happened? We fell, all right? So it says, verse 56, as for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing. So now he said all of the other people which come from Adam, right? So remember, Ezra is way down the line. You see that he's going back to the scripture in which is spoken about in Isaiah. And Isaiah said all nations before him are as nothing and be as vanity, right? So Ezra is reiterating the same thing. Okay, so he said, as for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, right? So they be like unto spit. So that shows you, man, the Most High deems them as nothing to him, but he holds his people in high regard. Okay, and it says, and likeneth the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from the vessel, right? That's how the Most High feels about them. And just that last drop of just unwanted wine. He's not concerned about them, but he is concerned about his people. All right. So we see that the nation before the Lord are as nothing. That's why they are to be the hewers of our wood and the drawers of our water. So their purpose is to serve us, as we would be known as the elite or the ones on top. Okay. And again, as I said before, let's hold this real quick. I want to get that. Let's go to the book of 1 Kings. Let's go back to the history and see. So it says, here we go. This is in 1 Kings chapter 9, and I'm going to read I'm going to start at verse 20. And all the people that were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which were not of the children of Israel, their children that were left after them in the land, whom the children of Israel also were not able to utterly destroy, upon those did Solomon levy a tribute of bond service unto this day. So he used them for the force, or the workforce, the hard labor, all right? But of the children of Israel did Solomon make no bondmen, but they were men of war, and his servants, and his princes, and his captains, and rulers over his chariots, and his horsemen, right? So Solomon had an incredible military, right? So he put all of the children of Israel, in positions of power, basically, all right? So we showed you that all of the heathen, they were the ones who were doing all of the work, right? We were just the overseers of all of the work in which they had to do. All right. So now let's go to the book of Judith. To the book of Judith, chapter 5. Because the nations, they know this history. They know this history, man, from like backwards and forwards. They have our records. They have the Bible right in front of them, which is like the basic records for us to read as well, right? So let's go to the book of Judith, chapter 5. One second. Get that. Judith. Are you Judith? Okay. Susanna. Here we go. Judith chapter 5. All right. And it says, verse 5, and I'm going to start at verse 3. Sorry about that. So it says, and he said unto them, tell me now, ye sons, and he said unto them, tell me now, ye sons of Canaan, who this people is that dwell in the hill country, and what are the cities that they inhabit, and what is the multitude of their army, and wherein is their power and strength, and what king is set over them, or what captain of their army, and why have they determined not to come and meet me more than all the inhabitants of the west? And then said Accord, the captain of all the sons of Ammon, let my Lord not bear a word from the mouth of thy servant. I will declare unto thee the truth concerning this people which dwelleth near thee, and the inhabitants the hill countries, and there shall no lie come out of the mouth of thy servant. Right? So now you have this Ammonite captain. He's gonna run down the history of the children of Israel. Okay. So now this is why, the nations knew our history, and this is why, they'll do anything to keep us defiled, man, because they understand while we're in righteousness, then they understand, man, that they're gonna be our servants, they're gonna be in subjection to us, right? But they know if we remain in transgression, then they already know, like, look, they will be in servitude to them. All right. So, you have Accord, he's gonna break this history down to one of the Assyrian captains named Holofernes. All right. So then he begins to declare the history. All right. And these nations know our history. But let me drop down and read verse 17. And it says, and whilst they sinned not before their God, they prospered, because the God that hateth iniquity was with them. But when they depart from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captives into a land that is not theirs. And the temple of their God was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. So as you see, they understand that, man. When we're in sin, we're in transgression, you know what I mean? And we're found in violation against our God, you'll see that our power is gone. So the nations know and understand that, and this is why they do everything that they can, man, to try to keep us from learning this truth. And that's why they're trying to throw every single little bone out there to our people, man, to keep them blind and keep them ignorant, right? So that these nations, man, can stay in power. All right. They don't want us to rule over them. They don't want to be our servants or anything like that. But according to this Bible that we read, it's going to happen no matter what. But they feel like, if we keep them down, we keep them dumb, it's not going to happen. But let's read. Let's continue on. The book of Isaiah, chapter 14. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14, and we'll get start at verse 1. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1, and it says, "For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land." So according to prophecy, it says that the Lord will have mercy on Jacob and he will still choose his nation, Israel. All right, and he will set us in our own land according to as prophecy shows us. And the stranger shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave unto the house of Jacob. So now it says that the stranger is going to be joined unto the house of Israel, right? And they're going to cleave unto us. So how is it that the nations, will cleave unto Israel, right? So if we're all supposed to be on the same playing ground, right, according to Christianity and those that believe that the nations will receive salvation, why does it say here that the stranger shall be joined with them and they shall cleave unto the house of Jacob, right? But it's going to show you something else, right? It's going to show you how the nations are going to cleave unto the house of Jacob. All right, let's continue reading on. So it says, "And the people shall take them and shall bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids." Wait a minute. How do you receive the same salvation when you servants and handmaids? How are you going to how are the nation going to receive eternal life and salvation, right? How are they going to do that? They're not. They're not going to receive the same salvation. That's why it says, man, it says that they're going to be servants and handmaids, and let's read on. And it says, "And they shall take them captives whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors." So they're going to rule over their oppressors. The children of Israel are going to be back at the top of the food chain, and they're going to rule all those nations that did oppress them. All right? So now, so let's read on. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve. Right? So the Lord said he's going to give us complete peace in the future to come. Right? Because right now, of course, we serving hard bondage. We working still from sun up to sundown, man. We still getting paid, just BS wages. But yet the Lord said we're going to be able to rule over our oppressors, and our oppressors are going to be servants and handmaids to us, right? So now, let's go to the book of Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 6 and verse 10. Then Isaiah, we'll get chapter 60, and I'm going to read verse 10. And it says, "And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor I had mercy on thee." Right? So the Lord said, man, he's like, the sons of strangers shall build up our walls. So again, it's showing you that the nations are going to be the ones to serve us. So how are they going to build up our walls? Yes, the kingdom, when it comes here, remember, the kingdom isn't just buildings and palaces and all of that. No, the kingdom is within us. We're the kingdom of the Lord. That's the city that's going to come from heaven. You know what I mean? Because everything has to be built up. All right? And the strangers or the heathen, that's what they're going to do. They're going to build up everything. They're going to be the ones to build up our walls. They're going to be the ones to build up New Jerusalem, build up the cities once again when the land is allotted to the 12 tribes. They're going to be the ones that's going to do all of the hard labor, right? But let's read on. "Therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, that their kings may be brought," right? So day and night, our nation, our gates are going to be open, and then the forces of the Gentiles, their armies, all right. It says, "and that their kings may be brought." So their kings are going to come unto the children of Israel, right? Once we're back in power, right? through Christ. It says, for the nations and their kingdom that the nation and the kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. So it's showing you right there. The nations have no choice. So it's either they're going to serve the children of Israel or they're going to be destroyed. That's basically it. So now it says, those nations shall be utterly wasted, right? So those nations are going to be completely destroyed if they do not serve the Israelites and and build up on walls. So servitude is better than what they will receive, and that's death. That's why the Lord said, man, it's not going to be no more rebellions or anything like that. Because once Israel is in power, once the Messiah comes and he returns, and he sets everything right, and he sits upon his throne, and everyone's in their proper position, and the children of Israel have received their their crowns, and they've received the immortality and the blessings of their inheritance, these nations are going to have to submit and serve. All right? They're going to have to. They ain't going to have no choice. Okay, so now it says, let's go to, and you can finish reading all of that, but that's just talking about the servitude of the nation. Or, we can finish reading. Let's read verse 13. It says, and the glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fig tree and the pine tree and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. The sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee. So the sons that afflicted us, right, meaning the nations that afflicted us, they're going to come bowing before us, right? So let's read on. And all they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the sole of thy feet. And all of the nations that despise us, that hated us, they're going to be the ones bowing down to us. So we see that the nations, yes, they're going to receive a blessing. They're going to receive salvation, and that is not to die. That's not to be destroyed, right? They're going to have righteous rulers over them. But they have to humble themselves, and they have to submit themselves to the new powers upon the face of the earth, and that's the Israelites. So he says, and all that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the sole of thy feet, and they shall call thee the city of the Lord, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel. Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee, I will make thee an eternal excellency and joy of many generations. So he said the Lord said he's going to make us an eternal excellency, meaning there will be no end to our glory. There will be no end to our beauty. There will be no end to our righteousness. And the nation's going to have to bow down, or else they're going to be destroyed. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 8. Zechariah chapter 8. So chapter 8, and let's get verse 23. Actually, we can get verse 22. And it says, yea, many people and strong nations shall come to seek the Lord of hosts in Jerusalem, and to pray before the Lord. So it said, many strong nations. So many of the nations, man, are going to come and seek the Lord of hosts in Jerusalem and pray before the Most High, right? Thus saith the Lord of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew. So all of these nations, man, 10 men out of every language shall even take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, meaning an Israelite. So showing you, man, just imagine, man, that mixed multitude when they seen all of those signs and those plagues that were happening unto the Egyptians, right? They was like, man, we got to be down with you. We going with the children of Israel. Let's go with them. We see that their God is with them. So if that's their God doing all this, I want to serve their God. So you see all of that mixed multitude, man, they clave unto their masters, who were the Israelites. That's why When they came out, the Lord had to lay down the law. Like, all right, well, look, they're going to be amongst you. They're going to serve you. They're going to be the hewers of your wood and the drawers of your water. These nations are going to be beneath you. They're going to be the ones who are subject unto you. Of them shall you buy. You're going to buy up the heathen that are around about you, and you're also going to buy up those who are the sojourners that are among you. Okay? And it says, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. And that's what happened. That's what happened. The same thing happened in Egypt. He said that God is with you. But we heard God is with you. So we rolling with you. So that's what those nations did, man. They submitted themselves, and they was like, man, I don't want to be destroyed, so I'm going to go with the chosen children of the Lord, right? I wouldn't mind building up their walls. I don't mind being the hewer of their wood and drawer of their water, as long as I don't suffer like what I saw in Egypt. I'm good, and that's what's going to happen, man. But they're going to have to learn too. The nation's going to have to learn the laws of the Most High. Let's get the book of Micah. Let's get Micah chapter 4. And I'm going to read verse 1. But in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. And many nations shall come and say, come and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways. So now this is what the mountains represent. The mountains and the hills represents those nations. And it says they're going to come, right, unto the mountain of the Lord, right? And it says, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to come to Israel, and they're going to want to learn the ways of the Most High. Right, they're going to want to learn the ways of the God of Jacob, meaning the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. They're going to have to learn that. In order for them just to sojourn or stay alive, they have to learn those laws. And it says, and many nations shall come and say, come, let us go up unto the mountain of the God, of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. So as he said, the law shall go forth from Zion, right? And the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. So Israel is going to be the headquarters of all of where the law is going to be taught and enforced. And the nations are going to have to get with the program. So they're going to have to learn the ways of the God of Jacob. But you see, as it said in the scriptures, they're going to do it willingly. They're not going to do it. It doesn't say that they're going to do it. They're going to do it with grudge or anything like that. No, it said they're going to do it willingly. They're going to want to do it. They're going to want to learn the ways of the God of Jacob because they see the benefits of learning and keeping the commandments, right? And it says, and he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations afar off. And they shall stand, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. So now these nations, man, there's not going to be any more war. They're going to be servants. That's it. What do you do with a pruning hook? What do you do with a plowing shear? You do work, yard work. You work in someone's vineyard, right? You work on somebody's farm, agriculture. That's what these nations are going to be doing. So it says there's not going to be any more empires or anything like that. It's only going to be the rulership of the children of Israel. That's it. Under the authority of the Mashiach. That's it. The Christ, the anointed one. And it says, and neither shall they learn a war anymore. So ain't gonna be no more war upon the face of the earth. That's it. Because the nations are gonna have righteous judges. The nations are gonna be governed, under the law righteously. Okay? So we're going to deal with them, all right, as the scriptures or as the commandments show us how to deal with the other nations, right? We don't afflict them, we don't, abuse them or anything like that. But we do what? We treat them with respect. All right. So now it said, let's go to Isaiah 14. Zechariah chapter 14. Zechariah chapter 14. So again, the nations that don't want to learn the law, there's a judgment that's going to be pronounced against them. And Zechariah speaks about it. Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 16. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left of all the nations which come against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Right? So that's showing you that they're going to have to keep the feast. They're going to have to keep the feast days. Okay? And it says, and if the families of Egypt go not up and come not that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Right? So that's going to happen. All right? So he's going to cause famine to occur in that land. No rain. Remember, rain is what's going to sustain your crops. That's what's going to bring, that's what gives you water. All nations need water to survive. So now the Lord said that's how he's going to destroy these nations, man. He's going to cut off the rain, and there shall be the plague, all right, wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. He's also going to unleash a plague to destroy a multitude of the heathens, all right. So, with that, I'm going to end it right there. And if there are any questions, I'm going to open up the line.